When we wake up as the chosen undead, the bearer of the curse, and ultimately, the Ashen One, it is easiest to not concern oneself with the depravities of what we witness. We are simply implored to link the fire and to overcome any obstruction in our way. Considering the convoluted nature of the Dark Souls series and the narrative devices employed, this way of playing is definitely the path of least resistance. It becomes easy, really. Slaughter everything in front of you until you are the last one standing at the final bonfire. And honestly, this is enough for most players. However, these games reward the inquisitive. If one takes the time to read item descriptions and pay attention to environmental storytelling while cleaving through endless hordes of undead, they might begin to notice the web of narrative that is weaved throughout this dilapidated world. In the case of Dark Souls 3, you might find that one individual's influence has seeped into most decrepit crevices of Lothric. The usurper whose tyrannical miasma has shrouded the world and crumbled the pantheon of gods themselves. The name that an inquisitive player will notice time and time again during their journey with this game is Pontiff Sulyvahn. At the end of the world, in a grandiose cathedral overlooking the moonlit steeples of Irithyll, we find the Pontiff. Anor Londo sits in ruins behind him, abandoned by the gods of old. One might question how Sully came to power in this place that we remember as being inhabited by gods. Who is he to amass such power? Where is Gwyndolin during all of this? The answer is one of political deception, religious subversion, and, eventually, deicide. Sulyvahn did not grow up in this wintry city. He came from a painted world where he knew little suffering. Becoming an accomplished sorcerer there, he decided to leave his comfortable home. It's possible the comfort bored him, or maybe he was excited by the tales of struggle and violence told by refugees seeking asylum in this painted world. It is likely that he felt he had learned all he could in this tucked-away realm and sought further experiences. Regardless of his motives, he left his home and found himself in the Boreal Valley. Gaining the trust of Gwyndolin and rising within the way of the White's clergy, Sully slowly accumulated political power. Presumably content with his position at the time, everything changed when he discovered the profane capital. Within that abandoned relic of civilization, he also found an undying flame, one that would not require rekindling. Enchanted by the Stygian power of the flame, a burning ambition took root within him. He shared this flame with the Holy Knights of Irithyll. This corruption led to their descent to becoming fire witches, abandoning their old fealties and religious ideologies. These knights became the Pontiff's watchful eyes, and when needed, his punitive blades. Amassing a legion of warriors provided the power of physicality, but Sully sought more. This opportunity came when Gwyndolin fell ill, or more likely, was poisoned by the wielder of the profaned flame. To enact total control, he locked Gwyndolin's sister, Yorshka, away in an inaccessible tower. Isolated and powerless, she would not be able to protest Sulyvahn when he declared himself as the Pontiff of Irithyll. With this title, he wielded the power of the church and became the foremost interpreter of justice. He then built a dungeon that would both serve as a prison for his defectors, as well as a gate protecting that profane flame, hiding it away from anyone else that might try to draw strength from it. He also isolated the city from the rest of the world, creating magic barriers that could only be passed with the possession of small dolls. These dolls whispered to the Pontiff's subjects and Outriders, reminding them that, wherever you go, the moon still sets in Irithyll. Wherever you may be, Irithyll is your home. To garner legitimacy as the de facto ruler of the Boreal Valley, he maintained relations with distant Lothric by providing them with gargoyles discovered in the profane capital. We know that Sully also experimented with transforming prisoners into Paildrakes, a similar transformation we see with the Consumed King. It is possible that Sulyvahn further built trust with Lothric by assisting and providing subjects for experimentation in his dungeons. He enlisted 5 especially fierce warriors as his arm that would serve to extend his reach in the world. These knights held the name of the Boreal Outriders, including the Dancer and Captain Vort. These berserkers were bequeathed eye rings that gifted them power at the expense of their minds. One of the rings reads, "Knights who peer into the black orb are lured into battles of death, transformed into frenzied beasts." No wonder the Pontiff only provided these rings to those dispatched to foreign lands. The Outrider Knights specially embarked on foreign campaigns, where their frenzies could wreak havoc without jeopardizing Sulyvahns' order. We first encountered the Outrider Knights just outside of the entrance to Lothric Castle, where Vort and the Dancer are laying siege while the two lesser Outriders infiltrate the confines of the disordered castle. After gaining their trust, Sulyvahn betrayed a summons for help by attacking his formerly allied kingdom to expand his locus of control. Surely, he must have fixated on the Great Kingdom on the horizon and dreamt of expanding his domain. To do so, Sully sent his Outrider Knights to breach the land of Lothric. The Dancer has an especially tragic story, as evidence suggests that she is the daughter of Guinevere who was imprisoned by the Pontiff during his usurpation. Previously forced to dance for Sulyvahn's twisted amusement, she was then fitted with an eye ring and swords paralleling the Pontiff's own. Losing herself to frenzy, we find her sieging the entrance to her mother's kingdom. To enter the inner confinements of Lothric Castle, we are forced to put this tragic figure to rest. Sulyvahn's ubiquitous ambition seemed unstoppable until the Lords of Cinder reawakened. Tasked with sacrificing themselves once again to prolong the fire, a role that Prince Lothric refused, they follow the sickly prince and also casted away their duties. When we arrive at the Cathedral of the Deep to defeat Aldrich, we find an empty crypt. After killing the deacons that protect this unholy site, we find the small doll that allows us to follow Aldrich to Irithyll. When we leave the claustrophobic catacombs, a tranquil, almost ethereal town greets us. The snowfall and moon comfort us after the Stygian corridors we ventured through. It is hard to believe that this place is the source of so much desecration and manipulation. There is ample evidence that suggests Aldrich fought his way through this very town to return to honor Londo. We witness the spirits of Sulyvahn's fallen warriors roaming the streets. The few knights that remain wield scythes that are eaten away by insects. Hidden away is one of the Deep's evangelists, possibly lost during Aldrich's conquest, who uses the Na miracle. The description reads, "A dark miracle taught in the Cathedral of the Deep summons insects swarm to feast on foes. These insects, which lurk in the deep, have tiny jaws lined with fangs." Clearly, a battle was fought between the forces of Aldrich and the Pontiff, with the former succeeding and moving into honor Londo with his prize awaiting. Sulyvahn was forced to forfeit Gwyndolin to the God Devourer, losing the fount of his power. Aldrich dreamed as he slowly devoured the god of the Dark Moon. In this dream, he perceived the form of a young, pale girl in hiding. From this description, we discover that Pontiff managed to keep Yorshka hidden from Aldrich, possibly due to her also being from a painted world, but more likely in selfish hopes to restore his power. While Aldrich digests, it appears that Sully even managed to take back some of the old home of the gods, succeeding in sending his beast to kill Archdemon MacDonald, who served as a trusted commander for Aldrich. When we arrive, Sulyvahn appears weakened still from his clash with the Lord of Cinder. In his right hand, he wields the profaned greatsword, blazing with the source of his own ambition. In his left, he holds the Greatsword of Judgment, representing the judgment of the moon. Its dark blue hues, deeper than the darkest moon, reflect Sorcerer Sulyvahn's true nature. The tyrant whose wicked influence spread across the land like eldritch tentacles is ultimately felled by our blade. Whatever ambitions he held to retake control of the Boreal Valley are extinguished. But what exactly did he envision when he first set eyes on the profane flame as a young sorcerer? Being from a painted world, surely he knew that a rotten world must be set ablaze. It's possible he looked to reject this established truth of his home and sought to prolong this world with the profane flame solely in his control. With the Lords of Cinder refusing to link the flame, and the Chaos Flame withering with the demons departing along with it, Pontiff Sulyvahn would serve as God King for this dying world, offering those loyal to him the warmth of the accursed flame.
When the world rots, we set it afire for the sake of the next world. It's the one thing we do right, unlike those fools on the outside.